Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of Season 3. So, ang dami nating natutunan sa last episode, no? Nakakatuwa. Diba? So, I would just like to remind everyone that our podcast episodes are shown every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. That is why it's important to follow us on Facebook. So, all episodes are pre-recorded and will be broadcasted through Facebook Live.
Yes.
So, if you want to go back to the past episodes or even the past seasons, ang dami niyong mapupulot dito. For sure, may mapipick up pa rin kayo. Especially if you're new in watching these podcast episodes, I would encourage you to go back to the previous ones. And for sure, you'll pick up a lot of knowledge, especially if you're a financial advisor, a new financial advisor in the Philippines.
Right, Kuya Ryan. So, follow us on Facebook kasi minsan nagiging first and third kami. Diba?
Correct.
Ayan. Reminder that this show is powered by IARFC-PH, the Philippine chapter of the International Association of Registered Financial Consultants. The IARFC-PH is an association dedicated to the craft of financial consulting. The association is the sole organization authorized to conduct the RFC conversion courses as well as continuing education in the field of financial consulting. We are your hosts. I'm Coach John Dizon, a registered financial consultant and a life coach from NLT Manila.
I'm Boyet Benavides, a registered financial consultant and president of IARFC-PH, specializing in trust banking.
I am Kuya Ryan Daes, a registered financial consultant, a chartered wealth manager, and a registered estate planner. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again.
Good evening.
By the way, special thanks to Miss Susan Capa of the IARFC USA Public Relations for helping us with all of our international guests. Diba? She was very instrumental for IARFC Philippines Tuesday podcast, the RFC Tuesday podcast, for going international. Yan.
Yeah, shout out to Miss Susan. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for helping us out. Even during the beginning of the new organization, di ba, Sir Boyet?
Yes, she has been very instrumental in guiding the new board of directors in organizing IARFC-PH.
Yeah. And also, shout out sa ating interim video editor na pinahiram sa atin ng kanyang butihing may bahay, si Sir Bong Escobar, na ever since the first episode of the season, siya na ang nag-edit ng mga videos natin. Out of love. Thank you, Sir Bong.
Thank you, Papa Bong.
So, guys, kumusta? Ano take-away nyo dun sa huling episode? Ako kasi, ang na-remind sa akin ni Barry Daly was how it's important to really put the mission first before the commission. Especially most of us are coming from the life insurance industry. Minsan yung commission, yun yung nagdi-dictate kung paano yung advice eh. Pero he brought me back na how important it is na makatulong ka and how ground rules like having a code of ethics in the way you do your work would be helpful in helping out our clients eventually. So, ikaw, Coach John, anong takeaway mo?
Right. I like what he said, no? Yung sa we talked about ethics and how really the trust is the foundation of things, no? If makikita mo, 'di ba, Kuya Ryan and Sir Boyet, parang itong season 3 natin, medyo magkakabuka sila na na iba-iba yung mga flavor. Oo. So, what I really like about Barry then is yung kung isipin mo parang ethics, parang it's the subject na parang dadaanan lang kasi kailangan, pero very interesting. So one of the things na nakuha ko is yung binigay niyang example about a certain client na naghahabol ng something para maibigay yung parang best price para sa kliyente niya. And then ang ginawa niya, nag-forge na lang siya. Diba? At tapos ang sabi ni don't do that kasi in the end babalik rin yun sa iyo eh, parang kakarmahin ka eh. So the ethics is even being able to stand strong kahit na ikaw yung nagkamali, kunyari, nakalimutan mo talaga pa pirma kay client yung isang pirma na lang. You have to admit that to the client. And kapag pinakita mo yun sa client, inadmit mo na ikaw yung nagkamali. Doon, makikita ng client mismo, ay, itong person na to, this is a person with integrity. Okay. Tapos hindi, alam mo yun, syempre may inis siya kasi hindi niya nakuha yung price na hinahabol niya. Pero again, makikita niya that it speaks a lot about this person. Yan. Gusto ko yun.
Yeah.
How about you, Sir Boy?
Very, very informative yung podcast last week with Barry. He also reminded us that the ethos of being a registered financial consultant is to be the trusted advisor of the client. So he reminded us to do what is right, what is proper, what is ethical, because the life and future of our client depends on our advice and execution. And as Coach John said, integrity is a very important aspect in our profession as RFCs. So as they say, integrity is what you do when nobody is looking at you. So it's something that you grow into yourself as an individual. It's part of your values, and at the same time, I mean, if people see you being an ethical consultant, you will not only be admired, but you will also be emulated. And that's part of what we are as an RFC community. Diba? We have to give good example, and we have to infect, so to speak, other people into being ethical RFCs.
Right. Dami ko rin natutunan doon, Sir Boyet and Kuya Ryan. So, if you guys would like to know more, you can always watch that in our FB.
Yes. So let's greet our watchers ng podcast. No? So hi everyone. Thank you for being with us again. Special mention syempre ibang members ng ating board, 'di ba? Yeah, sila Tita Arlene, ang ating executive producer, si Miss Grace, and ang kanyang magandang kakambal si Tita Faith na ever loyal and ever consistent in joining us in the podcast.
Yes.
And everyone else, yan, sila Sir Tony and so many more. Thank you for joining with us.
Thank you for joining us, especially those who regularly watch us and follow our podcast on every 2 weeks. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you get very important takeaways. Kahit isa lang per podcast, masaya na kami.
Yes.
Basta meron tayong natututunan every 2 weeks, that's good enough for us.
Correct. Tsaka andun rin kami. So if you have any questions, pwede kami sumagot live.
Yeah. Yes. If you want to clarify anything, don't forget to put it on the chat box below.
Yes.
We'll answer you live kasi we'll be watching together with you.
Okay. So again, we have our international guest today, si Miss Jamie Bosey from Aspire Wealth Partners. So since 2005, Jamie has provided financial guidance and education to a diverse clientele of individuals and families in her role as a certified financial planner. She helps keep her clients maneuver through life's transitions and overcome and anticipate any potential roadblocks along the way. She finds it extremely rewarding to see people organize their financial lives, maximizing their human capital, and get closer to their life's goals. Jamie has a passion for mentoring and financial literacy and is the author of the children's book series, Milton the Money Savvy Pup. She is also working on a grown-up book called Money Boss Mom, helping young parents be the boss of their financial future, which is set to publish this August. She's actively involved in the personal financial planning program at Kansas State University and enjoys volunteering in her community. She has been a member of the IRFC since she was a student, and she actually participated in the first financial plan competition in 2004. Jamie is a financial planner with Aspire Wealth Planners in Overland Park, Kansas. She's the author of Milton, the Money Savvy Pup, and also Money Boss Mom, helping young parents to be the boss of their financial future. Jamie is a mother of 4 and enjoying life's crazy adventures with her husband and children. RFC and guests, let us all welcome Miss Jamie Bosey. Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday podcast, Jamie. Jamie, you're focusing on the younger generation of clients, basically those who are starting as a couple or starting their family. How different is this with, say, probably serving the older generations, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s?
Sure. So my firm has always kind of specialized in that 40s, 50s, and 60s range. And a lot of the people that worked at the firm kind of matched that group of people. And in recent years, more of the firm was younger. So more of the advisors were younger, and we were naturally attracting more of the younger generation of clients. So, serving them looks a little bit different than, a retiree that's already amassed all their wealth and is now trying to figure out how to spend it. The younger generations have a lot of balancing priorities to deal with, and just a lot of juggling going on because they're trying to save for their long-term goals like retirement, sending kids to college. Maybe they're trying to buy a bigger house. And then they're also managing all the expenses of today with, raising kids and daycare and all of those things. So there's just a lot more factors that come into play that you have to figure out how to balance to get them to be able to live well today, but also be able to plan for their future.
Isn't it like there's a lot of moving parts in engaging with these types of clients? Like, what tools would you use in making sure that everything's organized, that you collect the right amount of data, and you're able to record and then properly assess what's necessary for your clients?
We try to leverage technology and use a lot of different platforms to gather information and then maintain that information on an ongoing basis. So a lot of times we use financial planning software like Money Guide Pro to get the data from the client. So, this generation is a little more tech savvy. Mm-hmm. So usually they can go ahead and upload documents to us and input things into the software for us. So then we end up doing less work on the front end. They can also link their accounts through the software. So like bank account balances and investment balances that are already out there can just pump right in to the system. So then we can use that information to then build the plan. So we try to use, technology as much as we can, especially in the way things were with COVID-19 last year, where we weren't meeting with people in person. It's really helpful if we can have, a software that's always up to date and the information is ready to go, and we can just update the plan live in the meeting if we need to.
Yeah, very high tech and high touch for that particular market.
Yes, and things are always changing too. Maybe they're having another baby, maybe they're switching jobs. And so, retirement is still such a long-term goal that's far away. A lot of the factors going into it can change, year to year.
Okay.
Well, there's an interesting question that, younger clients would be more in touch with technology, right? But how do you get updated with these softwares that you can use in your practice? Or perhaps we don't have them yet here. Who knows? But they might be here soon. But can you share with us how you get updated in using these softwares, or which software to use with your particular set of clients?
We use Money Guide Pro for the planning piece, and we learn how to do that by, they have, once you are able to access the program, there's training videos and webinars that you can watch to learn how to use it. And a lot of times when we're trying a new software, we use ourselves as guinea pigs. So we put our own information in there and then do the planning and work out all the kinks and figure out how we want to use it with clients. And they also have a service line that you can call if you're having a particular issue that is different with a certain client. So that's one that we use for the planning piece, and we use in most of the meetings. We also have a planning tool called the Return on Life, and it's more of a behavioral questionnaire, more of the psychology of money instead of the actual data and numbers. So it's a questionnaire about their philosophy about money and some questions about how they were raised with money, some of their ingrained behaviors around money. And those questions are presented in a way that are, there's the philosophy and then how you feel. So like, for instance, the question would be, what's your philosophy on debt? And there's a sliding scale where they can choose, I want to be debt free or leverage everything I can. And then the second part of that question is, how comfortable are you with where you're at today? And then they can say, I'm really comfortable, I'm okay, or I'm not comfortable at all. So that kind of gives you a sense of where they're coming from with money and kind of how they were raised and how they might behave with money going forward. So you can kind of anticipate some of the problems you might have to help them through and some of the obstacles you might have to overcome.
Great. Thank you for answering that.
Something interesting. Something interested me, Jamie. You wrote a book, a children's book, a series on saving, entitled Milton, the Money Saving Pop. What made you do that? What's your inspiration for doing it?
Well, I've always liked writing. So I've always done, blog writing for my company and newspaper articles and things like that. And so it's a way that I like to educate and communicate. What really prompted it, I have 4 kids that I'm trying to teach about money. So my oldest, when he was about 5 years old, we were shopping at the store and he was like, Mom, can you buy me this giant Gravedigger race car thing that was like $60? And I was like, no, that's not in the budget for today. And he just said, well, why don't you buy it on Amazon then? And so he didn't understand that buying something on Amazon actually cost money, because to him, it was just a magical service that brings everything your heart desires to your doorstep. Because when you go to the store, you see mom and dad pay at the register before you leave, but Amazon didn't make sense to him.
Yeah,
and
the boxes
so
just arrive by your doorstep.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh no, my kids have no idea about how money works, and that when we buy things, it costs money, and when we get new things, it costs money. So I was thinking about a way to communicate that with them. And we love, reading books as a family. And so I thought, well, maybe I can figure out how to write a children's book so that I can, teach them through reading. And so I went to a conference about, children's book writing, and, talked to a bunch of different people about it to try to figure it out. And I researched what concepts kids can understand in the different age groups, and decided to focus on kind of the 3 to 5 age group, which can understand identifying coins and their value, learning that money, things cost money. It costs money to buy things, and that you can earn money by working, and that sometimes you have to wait and save to get what you really want. So I used our dog as the character in the book. So he's right up there on that picture, if you can see it.
Behind you.
Because everybody loves him. He's a cute guy. So I wrote a story that here it is right here. Where
I guess the name of your dog is Milton.
Yes, Milton. And Milton is trying to buy a dog bone. And so he goes to work and he earns some money and tries to buy this bone. And then he sees that bacon is on sale too, but it costs more money. So he has to save money to get the bacon. So he has to decide, is he going to buy the bone today or save up his money to get the bacon?
Wow.
Very interesting.
Nice.
And they understand this.
What did you say, John?
And they understand this?
Um, understand. I don't know if understand's the right word, but in the book, it involves counting coins, and so we've done that with my older kids. And they will say things. Even the 3-year-olds will say things like, "We have to save our money," and so they catch on to little things. I wouldn't say they understand like the time value of money yet, but they're just starting to think about money, and when they see money, they know it has value, and that's how you buy things.
Is there a particular reason, Jamie, why you picked 3 to 5 years old?
Because that's how old my kids were at the time.
Oh.
So at the time, my 5-year-old was my oldest, and then I had a 3-year-old, and I didn't have the twins yet at the time. So that was the age that my kids were, and so that's what I zoned in on. So, but I have written a second one now too. It's not out yet, but I have a sample.
Nice.
They're now two.
This is more concepts for the 6 to 10-year-olds, where they get the concept of if they get money, they shouldn't spend it all. They could put some in a jar for charity to give to charity, some to save, and then they can spend the rest.
Wow.
So,
You're starting really young.
You're starting really young.
But that's
and
nice.
you're using very simple concepts to be able to illustrate financial planning to very young kids. That's great.
Yeah, because I feel like the earlier you start, the easier it is for them to live a good financial life and grasp those concepts. And really, if they start saving when they're 6 years old, then they already have that habit of, when I get paid, I don't spend it right away. I give some to charity and I save some, and then I can spend the rest. Like once that habit is ingrained, it's more likely to stick with them, the longer it's been in play. So that's my hope anyway. I mean, my kids are still young, so it's too young to know if it works, but.
And you're coming up with a book this August this would be now for young parents, right?
Yes, so it's my first book for grown-ups, so not a kid's book. But that one's called Money Boss Mom, Helping Young Parents Be the Boss of Their Financial Future.
Are there dogs in this book?
There's no dogs in this one. No, it's more of a financial. No pictures even. It's kind of boring.
It's a grown-up book.
It's a grown-up book.
Yeah, it's more of a financial guide to help parents figure out, what are some of their ingrained behaviors about money and what's kind of holding them back, and then how to develop healthy habits and systems where you're saving and growing your net worth over time while navigating some of the risks that parenthood involves. As you guys know, when you're a parent, like life insurance is a lot more important, and having an estate plan. So if you died early, that the kids are taken care of. So helping them kind of get to the bottom of what you need to know in each area of financial planning, and how to get a good system in place for the long term. So that should be coming out August 30th. And I'm really excited about that. And it was a lot more work than I thought it would be. I had written a lot of blogs about, this sort of topic, right? So writing articles about life insurance for young parents, writing about how to build your net worth, how to build an emergency fund. I had a lot of content already out there about these sort of things, but putting them together in a book is a whole another story. It was a lot more complicated than I thought it would be, but I'm really excited to finally see it coming to fruition.
Nice, very nice.
I do wonder, from the first questions that we tackled, when you explained a little bit about your firm, how do your clients get in? Do you find them or they find you?
Good question. So a lot of the clients that I'm working with, a lot of them find us either online or like through things that I've written. So a lot of my articles that I write are posted on social media, on various outlets, LinkedIn and Facebook and lots of other places. And it seems to be a lot of people say, that they've read my articles over time, and then they're like, they've had some kind of triggering event where they've had another baby, or they're changing jobs, or something has happened where they're like, now's the time I need help. Right. So a lot of them have come that way. We do have some business development people in the firm who are kind of going out and seeking opportunities for us to bring in new people. And those include, speaking engagements that, might involve me or other people in the firm, going to networking events, and those sort of things, where we might find new clients to work with.
I read some of your articles in IARFC's The Register. How did you get started with the IARFC?
So I actually joined the IARFC as a student when I was still in college at Kansas State University. So I think they called it, you were an RFA then, because you weren't an official RFC yet. So I, joined when I was younger and got to go to a couple of conferences while I was still in college. And then I actually participated in the first financial plan competition that the IARFC put on in 2004, where they invited students to come and do a plan and present it to the group. So that was a really fun experience and a good way to get some professional exposure as a student, before I was out in the industry.
That must have been an experience for you as a very young college student, and then you're in front of hundreds of people or thousands of people, and then you're also in front of a panel that is asking you a lot of questions about your plan. That could have been scary.
Oh, it was terrifying for sure. Yeah, it was very nerve-wracking because, while doing the financial planning work was something we already did in the coursework we were studying. So that piece was not as difficult, but presenting it and then making it apply to a real world situation. And then, the questions coming at you and just all the faces in the crowd made it a kind of nerve-wracking experience for sure. But that's good for you too. You need that kind of exposure to get used to talking in front of a lot of people and presenting your ideas. So definitely a valuable experience.
Jamie, if I may ask, when you started your practice, did you work immediately did you apply in a firm or did you start your own firm? How did you get started?
Yeah, great question. So I actually majored in financial planning in college. So I had a degree in that when I graduated from school. And the only reason I got into the major in the first place was because my parents actually filed for bankruptcy when I was in college. And, that raised a ton of questions for me. I was like, bankruptcy, like, what does this mean? Am I going to have to drop out of school and raise my siblings? How do I prevent this from happening to me? So I knew that I needed to learn a lot of things about financial health for my own sake. And so I started taking the classes at Kansas State University to learn how to better my financial life and make better decisions, so I didn't end up in that same boat. And so I ended up switching my major from education to financial planning when I was a sophomore in college, and then graduated with that degree. And my first job out of school, I moved to Texas, where I worked in a little firm that had one main advisor and then some associate advisors. So it was a really, really small firm where I was meeting with clients. I was the compliance officer. I was the maid. I opened the mail. Like, I just did everything, everything from soup to nuts, right? For the firm. And so that was a good experience, but kind of too small of a firm for my taste. And then my husband and we got married and moved to Oregon for his job. So we made kind of a cross-country move. And so I needed to find a new position. And there I worked in a private bank. So I went from a tiny firm to a really large bank system. And there I worked largely with the trust side of things. So more, the trust fund beneficiaries or clients who had over $1 million in investments. So they were more of the higher net worth clientele. And then when we moved back to Kansas about 7 years later, I was looking for something kind of in the middle. I wasn't ready to start my own firm. And so I wanted to work for a firm that was, small enough where I would have a voice and be able to change the direction of how things are going and influence the strategy of the firm. But a firm that was big enough that it was run like a business and professionally done, where I didn't have to open the mail or be the maid, those sort of things. So I found the firm that I work for now. It's called Aspire Wealth Partners. And it's kind of a bigger mid-size RIA where there's about 15 of us in the firm. And we have, some lead advisors, an operations team, an investment team, and some associates. So it's a good mix of a team-based structure where we can really work together to serve clients in a good way.
I want to ask also, Jamie, how did you got, like for financial advisors, right? Your background in college was already financial planning. So for mostly people with that background would just go for the big people, like the rich people right away, right? And then you had accidentally found your niche, right? With a young family. How did you get there?
Well, I think it's kind of a factor of like where you're at in life. So, I did work with a lot of the wealthier people when I worked at the bank. But then, as you grow in your career and get older and have families and things like that, your friends start to ask you questions, right? So other people who are in the same boat as me started asking, okay, when do I need to get life insurance? How do I manage cash flow? How do I figure out what this 401k means? So you start getting a lot more questions from people who kind of look like you, right? So they're in the same life stage. And so I was getting a lot of questions from people and started to write more articles to that audience to help them, right? So so maybe I couldn't work with them as clients, but I could share the information broadly and maybe help educate them and get them on a better path. So, and then once, after several years of writing articles specifically to that audience, then most of the people that come to me now are in that age range because they've been, reading my articles for a while and know that I can help them specifically.
Yep. And you have books for their children too.
And I have books for their children. That's right.
Great.
Jamie, what advice would you give to our consultants? Many of our members here in the Philippines are quite young, just like John. And they're also working with younger clients. What advice can you give them when they get into this market?
Well, I would say, kind of find what your thing is, like what you're comfortable talking about and what you're comfortable doing. So for me, my kind of gift and thing that I enjoyed doing was writing. And so I leveraged that to be a business development tool and to grow, my client base without doing something uncomfortable for me, right? So instead of going to networking events and shaking hands and doing all the traditional networking stuff to build a client base, I just put my content out there. And so if there's something that you are an expert in, maybe it's, student loans or managing cash flow or something that kind of speaks to that audience, use that to your advantage instead of going the way, someone else does marketing or someone else does their business development. Like if you can do something that is unique to you, it'll come a lot easier. And then, over time it'll pay off. So find what your thing is. Yep. And kind of go with that.
Thank you, Jamie. I see that as like a natural fuel. If you're the type of person that you're not really extroverted and wouldn't want to go out there networking with other people, and you're more of your gift is more on introversion, wherein you love writing or any other skills that you have. It's like a natural fuel already for you. You would do that even if no one pays you, and that
Mhm.
I think it just works like karma. When you give it the knowledge away for free, it will be given back to you in another way.
I agree. I agree. And then if it's something too that maybe you've navigated through yourself that you can share with other people, then they trust you a little bit more because you've been through it and you're sharing your story, and then it's helping them get through that same kind of situation. So
Right.
kind of a win-win for everybody.
Just like how in your background, you of course you didn't want to be bankrupt anymore. That's why you studied it. And for people who wouldn't want to go bankrupt, would go to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then with the kids' books too, I had a passion for, figuring out how to teach my kids about money.
Yep.
So in the course of doing that, I figured out a way to teach other people. So then that is putting myself out there, but in a way that works for me.
Right, right. And I can even see that even in the future, we know the time value of money, right? So with these kids, they can be even earlier than their parents, where they can invest earlier and see the fruits of their investment earlier than our age.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people, a lot of adults aren't comfortable with the way they manage money and don't feel like they're qualified, kind of to teach their kids these things. So if they can use, a book like Milton the Money Savvy Pup to do that or make the conversation a little bit easier, I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to make lives of many parents easier with those books.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Will that be available through Amazon, or can we buy
It is, yeah. So
soft
the
copy
first
of
one,
the
the
book?
first one has been on Amazon since 2018, so it's on there. The second one should be up on Amazon like next week, so pretty soon.
Wow.
With the Kindle version?
I think so. I think I have to apply separately for that piece, but I'll do it for you, John.
Thank you, Jake. I love
Question is
corgis, by
if
the
he
way.
has a Kindle. Do you use a Kindle, John?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I get because some of the books are not available here in the Philippines unless we go through Amazon. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
ship the book from the US.
Okay, I know there is different Amazon marketplaces. Like
Mhm.
there's like I think 6 or 8 of them listed there. So maybe you have one where you can get the actual book, but I don't know that for sure.
Nice, very nice.
Okay. What else?
I
Did we
think
miss
those
something?
are all of the questions already. So, Sir Bong, do we have enough material?
It's nice that you were able to write for kids and then transition to writing
Yeah.
for adults. I mean, it takes talent to be able to communicate to different types of market. I guess that comes from probably your education, your background, and maybe being inherently an educator and a mom. I guess that's part of it, and I mean that's great. It's very inspiring, and I guess a lot of our listeners, a lot of our guests will take maybe some points or some things from your life experience to be able to improve the way that they handle their clients, or maybe the way that they explain money to their kids.
I hope so. I hope it's helpful.
Yeah, and what I really like as well is you're a passionate person, Jamie. So I can see it's as if everything's like just flowing. So this is the area of your life that you had kids, a 5 years old and a 3 years old. So you wanted to learn to let them learn about money. You wrote the book. So and then it went on, and then for parents, in the future who would like to know more, and then you write something about that as well. So everything is just flowing in your life.
Yeah, and I think when you're writing about things that you're going through too, it just becomes more powerful, and it's a good story to tell. So, like for me, when I had kids, it was like I was in there with them trying to figure out,
Right.
all parents are going through. Like, how do you fit $1,200 of daycare in your monthly budget when it wasn't there before? How do you navigate taking time off work and maternity leave, as you recover from having your baby? And how does that impact the cash flow and the saving and going forward? And then, then when I had a kid, I needed life insurance. I needed an estate plan. So I went through that whole process and could share kind of the story of that too. So, share the experience, share just some tips, and share some humor too, like about, my missteps and things that are just funny about having kids and life as a parent. And I think it makes me more, relatable and makes the content more fun to read.
Exactly.
In our line of work, when we engage with clients, it's more of like a face to face and or one on one or with a couple. Like how did this pandemic change the dynamics of the client advisor relationship in your experience?
Good question. So, I think the pandemic was a crisis in innovation, right? So we had to force ourselves to figure out new ways of doing things. Luckily for me, our firm had already had the capacity for working from home. So we were all set up in a way that we could already do that, but most people just didn't. So moving home wasn't a big deal, because I had actually worked from home for 2 years before, long before the pandemic, because I actually live 2 hours away from where my firm is. And so I didn't start out that way, but we moved away. So I was doing remote work before remote work was cool. So I was kind of a pro. But I would still go back to the main office, a couple times a month to meet with people in person. But, also the generation that I'm working with, a lot of them value efficiency and they don't want a lot of drive time back and forth to the office. So for instance, many of my clients in Kansas City, where the main office is, they work downtown, but our office is about 20 minutes away from downtown. So if they were coming to a meeting at our office, they'd have to drive 20 minutes, have an hour meeting, drive 20 minutes back to the office. And so a lot of them were already doing Zoom for at least some of their meetings. So most of my clients, Zoom was easy and they preferred it anyway in some cases. And I had been working with a lot of clients who live in different states anyway, that are maybe the kids of our existing clients, that are more in my age group. And so all of them, we already did Zoom meetings anyway. So it wasn't a huge shift, but we're always working on how to be more efficient and utilize the technology, like while we're in the meeting, so that we're not having to do a bunch of work before the meeting and after the meeting when we could accomplish it during the meeting. So we're always trying to figure out how to be ready to be more efficient.
Like, that makes work a lot easier. And probably more contact points for clients, because they don't have to travel, they don't have to wait. They just dial you up or send you a link, and then you can immediately have a conversation with them. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love like having a schedule link that you can just email to people, and then they can choose a time on your calendar. I think that saves a ton of time. Instead of like emailing back and forth some days and times.
Yeah, I saw John use that. That's Calendly, right?
Yes.
I
use that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes
Works
it just so much easier.
Yes, makes it easier.
Life is easier with that.
And I think with, after the pandemic, I hope that, most firms and advisors figure out how to, keep some of the good stuff that we learned during this time.
Mm-hmm.
If you learned how to be more proficient in technology, don't just stop using it. Like, keep advancing and improve your efficiency, and always look for new ways to get better instead of just getting stuck in the way we've always done things.
Yeah.
You know, so my hope is that everybody kind of learned something during the pandemic that has made their business stronger.
Yeah, I agree very much. Like me, after this recording, I think I'll be having a meeting with someone from the Middle East. So that's the beauty of technology. So
Yeah, it's gonna
I
be
will have a
hard.
very long sleepless night.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard
Oh,
if we
man.
have to Zoom there.
Yeah. Instead of driving
All the way
set
home.
towards the meeting, then going back home. Oh, that's terrible. And I don't know if you've heard about the traffic here in Metro Manila pre-pandemic. Wow, you'll be surprised.
Oh man, I bet.
A 10-kilometer drive would take you hours.
That's my commute from home to where Ryan is. Actually, Ryan lives. Well, our buildings are back to back. My office building is
Yeah.
behind where he lives, and I'm 10 kilometers away. My home is 10 kilometers away from Ryan's place, and during the lockdown, it takes me about 8-9 minutes from the office to home. But with traffic, it takes me about an hour and 15 minutes. Terrible.
Oh, that's terrible.
When it's a special day like Valentine's Day, good luck. Turns to 2 hours.
Or if the malls are on sale,
yeah.
that's the worst.
All the malls along the highway would be in sale, so good luck at going home very early.
And my office is right in front of the mall.
Oh no.
2 malls to be exact.
2 malls.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience, Jamie?
I would just say, try to be as connected as you can in the industry. I feel like the financial planning world is still kind of a small world. And, I feel like every step in my career has been advanced because of people I know. So, people I met through the IARFC or people I met at a conference. So make sure you keep connected with people, because you never know when you might run into them again, or they could help you, advance your practice, or maybe join a firm, things like that. So always, maintain good connections and stay networked within our financial planning industry.
I guess that's
Thank
one
you,
of the
Jamie.
beauty of being a member of the IARFC, right, Jamie? You get to connect to, especially now with technology, we get to meet people like you and learn from your best practices and really level up our game here in the Philippines. So thank you for your sharing.
Of course. Yeah. And IARFC, they gave me a lot of writing opportunities as well to write articles for the Register magazine. And so, take advantage of that with your membership if writing is something you like to do.
Great. Thank you very much, Jamie, for joining us. It's quite early where you are. This would be a very, very valuable resource for all our members, not just in the Philippines, but also for all RFCs watching us globally, since the podcast can be viewed from anywhere in the world. So thank you very much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, if you have questions, please send your questions in the chat box so that we'll be able to address it and put it into our episode for next week.
So again, thank you, Jamie, for your valuable sharing. Thank you for giving us your everything and sharing everything that we have learned for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in tonight's podcast episode. On behalf of our executive producer, Ms. Grace De Vera Escobar, this is the RFC Tuesday podcast saying,
It is better to be in the know than to be the last.
good night, everyone. Stay safe. The next episode.